If you like walked into your living room right now and just counted every single wireless signal bouncing through the air around you, what would you actually find?
Oh, it's a lot. I mean, you've got your phone, your smartwatch.
Right, maybe a tablet.
Right.
And then there's the TV, the wireless soundbar, the smart bulbs, the thermostat.
Yeah, you'd easily count a few dozen invisible conversations happening simultaneously.
Exactly. Now, I want you to imagine 4,000 devices.
Wow.
Yeah. All of them packed into that exact same room, all talking at the exact same time, pushing a massive amounts of data with like absolutely zero lag.
Which sounds completely impossible.
It sounds like science fiction, but that is the actual math behind a new technology that is, well, threatening to kill Bluetooth. Welcome to today's deep dive.
It really is a staggering concept. We are essentially talking about completely rewiring the invisible infrastructure of our daily lives.
And our mission for this session is to figure out if that rewiring is actually going to happen. You know, we are looking at the data to see if the world's most ubiquitous wireless technology, which is obviously Bluetooth, is about to be dethroned.
Right.
We have a massive stack of sources today. We're pulling from a detailed analytical report titled NearLink versus Bluetooth, and that includes data straight from the NearLink Alliance, some white papers from Huawei, and crucially independent academic studies published by the IE and the ACM in 2025 and 2026.
Which is so important because this means we aren't just reading corporate press releases here.
Right.
We are looking at peer-reviewed, completely independent lab tests.
Exactly. So to set the stage here, I want you to think about Bluetooth as like the reliable family car.
Okay.
The sensible sedan you've had for years. It gets you to the grocery store. It handles the morning commute. Sure, occasionally the engine sputters or, the radio inexplicably unpairs from your phone.
Well, the worst.
Yeah, and you have to restart the whole car just to fix it. But you forgive it. You forgive it because it's universally accepted. Everyone knows how to drive it.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
But what if, right next to that sensible sedan in your driveway, someone suddenly parked a hypercar?
Right.
Like a vehicle so aggressively engineered from the ground up that it shatters every speed limit and just completely redefines what driving even means.
Well, I think the initial reaction for most people would be skepticism, honestly.
Yeah.
You'd look at that hypercar and wonder if you actually need a multi-million-dollar machine just to, go pick up milk.
Right. And before we start kicking the tires on this shiny new hypercar, we really need to understand why our reliable family car is suddenly struggling to keep up with modern traffic.
You have to look at the history.
Exactly. Let's look at Bluetooth's roots. This tech was born way back in 1998, championed by Ericsson and the Bluetooth Special Interest Group. Now, I want to be fair to them here. It has evolved. Looking at our 2026 sources, we are currently seeing Bluetooth versions 5.4, 6.0, and 6.2, and the documentation mentions they've added these features called ISIL and channel sounding. But I have to admit, those just sound like marketing buzzwords to me.
They do sound dense, yeah.
Ugh.
But they actually represent Bluetooth desperately trying to modernize itself.
Okay, how so?
Well, channel sounding, for instance, is a way for Bluetooth devices to bounce signals back and forth to accurately measure the physical distance between them.
Oh, like for digital car keys and stuff?
Exactly. Highly useful for that. And ISIL stands for Isochronous Adaptation Layer, which is, well, it's basically a software trick to chunk audio data more efficiently so your wireless earbuds don't lag quite as badly.
Right, okay.
But here's the core problem. These are modern bandages placed over a fundamentally ancient architecture.
Meaning, like, under the hood, it's still running on logic designed in the 1990s.
Precisely. The core foundation was built to connect one headset to one phone, or, one mouse to one computer.
Just one-to-one.
Right. When you look at Bluetooth Low Energy, or LE, the underlying physics essentially cap its data transfer speeds at around 2 megabits per second.
Wow, that's low.
And even worse, the classic architecture starts to choke the moment you try to connect more than 7 or 8 devices simultaneously.
Yeah.
It was just never built to be the central nervous system of a completely interconnected smart environment.
Okay, so enter the hypercar. It's called NearLink, though depending on where you look in the sources, you might also see it referred to as SparkLink or Starflash.
Yeah, they use a few names.
It was officially launched in 2023 by Huawei, and it's backed by an alliance that, at least by our 2025 and 2026 data, has ballooned to over 1,200 members.
Which is massive.
Right, including massive heavyweights like China Mobile and Lenovo. But reading through these engineering papers, the secret isn't just that they wrote cleaner code.
No, not at all. They didn't try to patch up the old short-range blueprints. They took an entirely different paradigm.
Yeah.
The architects of NearLink literally took the architecture of a 5G cell tower-like, the heavy-duty stuff running entire city blocks and managing thousands of smartphones, and they shrank it down to fit on a chip the size of a fingernail.
That is wild.
It operates in the same local 2.4 gigahertz space as Bluetooth, but it possesses a completely different brain. They brought in advanced cellular techniques like OFDM, polar coding, and HRRQ.
Okay, let's unpack this, because you just threw a massive bowl of acronym soup at me.
Fair enough, yeah.
OFDM, HRQ. Let's translate that for a second. If my Bluetooth drops a packet of data, my music stutters, how exactly does something like HRQ fix that?
That is a perfect way to look at it. Think of classic Bluetooth like having a conversation in a really noisy room.
Okay.
Bluetooth waits until you finish your entire sentence to realize it couldn't hear a word you said, and then it asks you to repeat the whole thing.
Oh, and that delay is the audio stutter you hear.
Exactly. HRQ, which stands for Hybrid Automatic Repeat Request, is like a listener who instantly raises a finger the literal millisecond a single syllable drops.
Wow.
Requesting the correction before you even finish the sentence. So the user never hears this stutter because the error was fixed midstream.
I really like that analogy. And what about OFDM and polar coding?
Right, so OFDM is essentially a highly advanced way of packing boxes into a delivery truck. Instead of tossing data packets in randomly and wasting space, OFDM slices the data into multiple parallel streams.
Okay, making it more efficient.
Very. It packs the radio waves so tightly that you can push a massive amount of information through the air without the signals interfering with each other.
And polar coding.
Polar coding is a mathematically rigorous way of ensuring those packed boxes don't get corrupted in transit.
Okay, I see the logic there. But let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Why in the world would you bring heavy-duty, citywide 5G cellular technology into my living room just to connect a wireless mouse?
It sounds like a lot.
Isn't that like using an industrial fire hose to fill a small water glass? I mean, it feels like massive overkill.
Right. Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the fire hose is absolutely necessary because your living room is no longer a small water glass.
Oh, right. Because of all the smart devices.
Exactly. We are moving toward environments where every light bulb, appliance, screen, and speaker is a data node. When all those devices fight for airtime on the same frequencies, old architectures experience severe wireless traffic jams.
Yeah, we've all had that happen.
Right. So by shrinking 5G tech into a room, NearLink acts like a hyper-efficient traffic cop. It organizes the chaos.
Sure, organizing chaos sounds fantastic in a corporate marketing pitch. But, marketing departments love to promise the moon. Did any of our independent scientists actually verify these claims in a lab?
Yes, and this is exactly why those independent IE and ACM papers are so vital to look at. And to understand their lab tests, you first have to know that NearLink operates in two distinct modes.
Right, the sources break it down into SLE and SLB.
Yes.
SLE is SparkLink Low Energy, which is designed for wearables, wireless earbuds, anything where battery life is the absolute priority.
Yeah.
And then you have SLB, or SparkLink Basic, which functions more like a short-range Wi-Fi replacement designed for pushing just massive amounts of raw data.
So let's look at the actual math from that January 2026 ACM paper.
Let's do it.
Let's start with speed.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, Bluetooth Low Energy hits a ceiling at about 2 megabits per second. NearLink SLE reaches 12 megabits per second.
Wow.
Yeah, that is 6 times faster right out of the gate using its low power mode.
And if you switch to that heavy-duty SLB mode...
The tests show it pushing past 900 megabits per second.
That's insane.
It is. The ACM measured functional real-world data rates at consistently 4 times better than the absolute best Bluetooth could offer under ideal conditions.
But here is a crucial point, and I think we need to highlight this. Speed is only half of the equation.
Very true.
For the actual user experience, latency is arguably much more important.
Right. Latency is the delay between a device sending a command and the other device acting on it.
Right. And Bluetooth, even when it is highly optimized for gaming or audio, hovers around a 20 to 40 millisecond delay. But the IE tested NearLink and found it operates between 20 and 250 microseconds.
It's a staggering drop.
Wait, I want to make sure everyone listening caught that distinction. Milliseconds versus microseconds.
Yeah, it's huge.
If Bluetooth latency is the time it takes to, I don't know, mail a letter across town.
NearLink is handing the letter directly to the person standing right next to you.
Precisely. 1 millisecond is 1,000 microseconds. NearLink's latency is up to 30 times lower than Bluetooth.
In terms of human perception, The delay simply does not exist.
Which brings me to a huge point of confusion I had while reading this. Usually in technology, if you push that much data at those blazing speeds, you're going to drain the battery immediately.
Right, it's the standard trade-off, yeah.
But the lab tests show NearLink actually consumes 60% less energy than Bluetooth. We're talking under 2 milliamps, which is about 10 milliwatts, compared to Bluetooth's typical 30 milliwatts.
It's remarkably efficient.
But how? How does a hypercar use less fuel than a sedan?
It goes back to those 5G mechanisms we unpacked earlier, specifically the OFDM and polar coding.
Okay.
Because NearLink packs the data so efficiently and transmits it with almost zero errors, the physical radio chip doesn't have to stay powered on as long.
Oh.
Yeah, it essentially wakes up, blasts the data perfectly in a fraction of a millisecond, and immediately goes back to sleep.
Oh, wow. So it works so much faster that it actually gets to rest longer.
Exactly. And because the signal is so robust, it offers double the effective range, pushing out to anywhere from 100 to 600 meters, depending on the physical environment.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. We talked about the device density problem earlier, how classic Bluetooth starts to cry if you connect more than 7 or 8 active devices.
Yeah, the bottleneck.
According to the independent tests, NearLink SLE can handle 256 simultaneous connections without dropping packets.
Which is already a huge leap.
Right, and NearLink SLB, an incredible 4,096 simultaneous connections.
It's hard to even picture.
If Bluetooth is a single checkout lane at the grocery store trying to process 7 items at once, NearLink SLB is a 4,000-lane superhighway where nobody ever has to hit the brakes.
And what's fascinating here is how that fundamentally changes network topology.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you constantly have to manage your devices.
Oh, yeah, turning off the Bluetooth on your phone so your headphones will finally connect to your laptop.
Exactly. With NearLink, the network is simply vast enough to hold everything in your house at once, constantly communicating without breaking a sweat.
So we have all these mind-blowing specs verified on paper. But for you, the listener, how does a few microseconds of latency or a few extra megabits actually change the physical gadgets you hold in your hands? Let's bring this out of the lab.
The consumer benefits are highly tangible. Take wireless audio, for example.
Okay.
If you look at Huawei's FreeBuds Pro 5, which are built entirely on the NearLink standard, that massive reduction in latency drops the audio delay to below 20 milliseconds end-to-end.
Wow.
Yeah, that completely eliminates the desynchronization lag. No more watching a movie on an airplane where the actors' lips just don't match the dialogue.
That is the absolute worst. Or think about gamers. In competitive gaming, people refuse to use wireless mice because of input lag.
Oh yeah, every millisecond counts.
Exactly. But with NearLink, wireless mice and keyboards can hit a 4,000 hertz refresh rate with a 250 microsecond latency. That makes a wireless mouse feel perfectly, imperceptibly hardwired.
Right.
You get the physical freedom of going wireless, but with the exact mathematical reliability of a physical USB cable.
But we have to elevate this beyond the living room, because it is incredibly rare for a single wireless protocol to be equally suited for a tiny pair of consumer earbuds and a massive industrial factory floor.
Yeah, totally different environments.
Yet our sources show China Mobile deploying millions of smart home units in 2025 using this exact standard.
And it goes even bigger than that. Look at the manufacturing data. Modern automated factories have hundreds of sensors on a single robotic arm reporting position, temperature, vibration, thousands of times a second.
Right, it's mission-critical data.
If a legacy wireless connection drops a packet, a robotic arm might misalign by a millimeter and just destroy a product. The IZ research validates that NearLink provides sub-millisecond latency and 99.999% reliability for controlling thousands of these interconnected sensors.
That's incredible.
It's a wireless connection that acts like industrial copper wiring.
We also see the ICCE Alliance actively implementing NearLink in the automotive sector.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're using it for highly secure digital car keys, wireless battery management systems, and real-time vehicle control.
Wow.
And the scale of deployment is already massive. By 2026, the data shows over 200 consumer and industrial products have commercialized, and more than 100 million NearLink chips have already shipped.
So it's out there.
Yes, this is not a theoretical concept. It is actively running in the wild right now.
Which naturally brings us to the elephant in the room. I mean, I have to ask. If NearLink is mathematically, functionally, and demonstrably superior to Bluetooth in almost every single category, speed, latency, power, range, capacity, why isn't it replacing Bluetooth in every smartphone globally tomorrow?
It's the big question.
Why did I just buy a laptop that still uses Bluetooth? What is the catch here?
Well, the catch is a highly complex mix of ecosystem inertia, hardware costs, and frankly, international geopolitics.
Okay, let's start with the hardware.
First, looking purely at the tech ecosystem, you have to understand the hardware itself. To play nice with the existing world, any new NearLink device needs what we call a dual-mode chip.
Right, because you can't just flip a switch and upgrade every laptop on Earth overnight. If my phone only has NearLink, it can't talk to my friend's old Bluetooth speaker.
Exactly.
But why is a dual mode chip such a roadblock?
Because silicon real estate inside a smartphone is incredibly precious. Building a chip that supports both Bluetooth and NearLink means adding a second set of radios, complex power routing, and intensive testing.
Which costs money.
It makes the chips more expensive to produce. And hardware manufacturers fight over pennies. They do not want to spend extra money adding a new protocol when Bluetooth, despite its flaws, has billions of mature, cheap devices in circulation globally.
That makes total sense. But there is also the geopolitical reality we have to talk about objectively, based on the reports.
Right.
The NearLink Alliance boasts over 1,200 members, but the membership is overwhelmingly based in China.
That is a significant hurdle for global adoption. Due to ongoing international sanctions placed on Huawei by the United States and several other nations, the distribution and integration of these advanced chips outside of China is heavily restricted.
Plus, establishing a new global wireless standard isn't just about making good hardware. Our sources point out the absolute nightmare of spectrum certification.
Oh, exactly. The 2.4 gigahertz spectrum is essentially the junk drawer of the airways.
Right. Microwaves, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth all live there.
Yeah. So NearLink has to go to every regulatory body on the planet, like the FCC in the United States, and mathematically prove that their powerful 5G-style signals won't accidentally drown out everyone's home Wi-Fi.
And while we do have those excellent ACM and IE academic papers, the reports note there is still a lack of massive third-party consumer-level testing outside of China.
Right. Think along the lines of consumer reports taking these devices apart.
Yeah. So what does this all mean? Are we looking at a, Betamax versus VHS situation? Is it possible that the demonstrably superior technology might actually lose out simply because it couldn't get market saturation?
This raises an incredibly important question about how we define a winning technology in the modern era. History repeatedly shows us that the ultimate winner in a format war is rarely the absolute best technology from an engineering standpoint.
It's about convenience.
The winner is the technology with the most frictionless global adoption. Bluetooth is deeply entrenched, incredibly cheap to manufacture, and universally accepted by every regulatory body on Earth.
Though NearLink is definitely pushing for global acceptance. We see that in the sources with initiatives like the SparkLink Europe 2025 event, which was aimed specifically at courting international developers.
They're trying, yes.
Yeah.
But overcoming that geopolitical and regulatory friction is a monumental task. We may very well be heading toward a bifurcated tech world where different regions operate on fundamentally different digital infrastructures.
So let's summarize all of this and figure out what it means for you, the listener, right now.
Okay.
If you are operating within the Huawei or HarmonyOS ecosystem, NearLink is a massive, immediate upgrade. You are getting the hypercar experience today. You get the flawless audio, the zero-lag peripherals, and the incredible battery life.
However, if you are situated in a mixed ecosystem, let's say you use an Apple iPhone, an Android tablet, and a Windows PC for work, Bluetooth's universal simplicity still wears the crown.
Yeah.
It may be the older, slower family car, but it just works everywhere with everything.
True. But I think the main takeaway here is about the horizon of what's possible. The next time your wireless audio stutters during an intense movie scene, or your smart home takes an agonizing 3 seconds just to turn on a light bulb, you now know that the underlying technology to permanently fix that frustration already exists.
It's out there.
The physics have been solved. It's no longer an engineering problem. It's just a matter of whether the entire world can agree to use it.
And as we consider that future, I want to leave you with one final thought based on NearLink SLB's capacity to handle over 4,000 simultaneous connections.
Okay, let's hear it.
If this technology successfully shrinks citywide 5G capabilities down to the size of a single room, what happens to the concept of personal data security?
Oh, wow.
Imagine your living room transforming from a quiet space with a few gadgets into a hyper-dense, interconnected hive of thousands of data points, all actively broadcasting and logging your environment at the exact same time.
That is a wild thought to chew on. The hypercar isn't just terrifyingly fast. It has the capacity to carry a whole lot more cargo, whether we want it to or not. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are sticking with the reliable family sedan for now or dreaming of strapping into the hypercar, keep questioning the world around you, and we will catch you on the next one.